I wasn't always a criminal at least. That's what I tell myself when I stare at the reflection of a man I barely recognize. Unshaven, wired eyes, fingers that twitch even when idle. But when you're a freelance hacker scraping by on sketchy contracts and working through the night in a dim Berlin apartment, morality becomes negotiable. The job came to me through an encrypted message on Proton Mail. High-value target. One time. Access. Payout. $100,000. You in. There was no name, no details, only a PGP signature that checked out with a client I'd worked with once before, codename Umbra. Last time, it was a corporate espionage gig. High risk, high reward. Clean. Efficient. Exactly what I liked. But this message had the stench of something different. Political. And politics, in my world, meant surveillance, firewalls backed by military-grade AI, and people who wouldn't think twice about making someone like me disappear. Still, $100,000 I typed back. Send target. Seconds later, I got a dossier. A photo of a man in his late 50s, graying temples, smug grin. Name, Senator Richard E. Halvorsen, U.S. Senate. A name I recognized immediately, one of the loudest voices against data privacy. Ironically, the guy who'd once compared hackers to terrorists now had me sniffing around his digital backyard that I hesitated. Then I saw the file labeled Entry Point. Apparently, Halvorsen had a teenage daughter, Anna. Smart kid. Used her dad's laptop often when traveling. They had a family home in Geneva, Switzerland. A backdoor on their network had been discovered through a misconfigured smart thermostat. My job was to use it, access his laptop remotely when it connected to that network, extract what I could, and disappear. Simple enough. For a pro, I launched my rig. 2 laptops, a VPN chain stretching through 5 countries, a flask of lukewarm coffee, and my custom intrusion suite. Nocturne. The breach took me 3 hours. By then, the sun was rising over Berlin's skyline. I was staring at Halvorsen's desktop screen through a remote shell. A Windows 11 interface. Nothing fancy. The folders looked clean. Too clean. No personal files, no emails, nothing sensitive. Then I noticed something. A hidden partition labeled Vesta, buried behind a decoy OS that I cracked the encryption. It wasn't easy. Whoever set this up knew what they were doing. But I was better. When the partition opened, everything changed. IT wasn't just files. It was a vault, video recordings, PDFs, scans of handwritten notes, entire conversations recorded from private government, Zoom meetings, password-protected zips labeled with cryptic titles like Q Sigma OPS, Atlantis Protocol, Harvest Red, the biggest one, a file simply named Eden. I copied everything. I didn't even look at it. Not yet. I didn't have time. I compressed the folder, encrypted it, and uploaded it to my cold storage in Iceland. By the time I closed the shell, my hands were shaking. I sent Umbra a message. Done. Where's my money? No reply. I waited 6 hours. Still nothing. Then came a ping. Not from Umbra. Unknown number, subject. You're in over your head. The message read, "We know what you've seen. Stop digging. You have 24 hours to delete the files and wipe your system, or we wipe you." Attached was a photo of me, taken that very morning through my apartment window. Asterisk, I didn't sleep. Not that night. Not the night after. Every shadow outside my window looked like a man with a gun. Every footstep in the hallway felt like a countdown. That photo they sent me, taken from a rooftop across the street, was proof that whoever I'd crossed wasn't just bluffing. They knew me, where I lived, what I looked like in boxer shorts, holding a cup of instant coffee that I had no doubt they could make me disappear. So I moved. Not metaphorically, physically. Packed a bag, ditched my phone, and took the U-Bahn to Sudcruise. From there, I caught a train to Prague using a fake ID I'd had stashed in a lockbox for years. My new name. David Keller, IT consultant from Vienna. I checked into a dingy hostel under a fake credit card and set up my backup laptop, a modified ThinkPad with 0 wireless components. Strictly Ethernet. No microphones. No camera. No risks. Then I opened the drive. The folder Eden was locked with a triple-layer EES 512 encryption. It took my machine 2 hours just to get through the first layer. I had the key from the earlier extraction, only possible because the politician had carelessly stored it in a notepad app labeled kidsschedule.txt. The files inside Eden were horrifying. The first was a PowerPoint presentation from something called Project EDN, Enhanced Distributed Eugenics Network. It was dated 2017. The logo in the corner said Odin Institute, a private biotech firm, with heavy ties to U.S. defense grants. Each slide made my skin crawl. Slide 1. Controlling population through genetic drift. Slide 2. Targeted sterilization using biopharma deployment. Slide 3. Media compliance matrix. Project. Daedalus. Slide 4. Socio-political destabilization as cover. There were flowcharts with red arrows pointing from pharmaceutical companies to regulatory bodies, to private research labs, and finally, political donors. But the kicker? A scanned contract, signed by Senator Halvorsen, along with 7 other signatures, all partially redacted. The project was allocated $4.6 billion in funding through black budget slush, and buried deep in the docks. Email logs between Halvorsen and a man named Dr. Emil Skarn from the Odin Institute. Conversations about test cities in South America. Leaked data from Stage 2 deployment. Statistical graphs tracking birth rates, IQ deviations, and something ominously called compliance metrics. That's when I realized they were actually doing this. This wasn't theoretical. It was operational. I shut the laptop. My hands were clammy. My heart jackhammered in my chest that I was sitting on nuclear-level data, not just illegal, monstrous that I debated what to do. Sell the files? To whom? WikiLeaks? Darknet News? Any move would make me a target. A walking dead man. But if I did nothing, more people would be harmed. Silenced. Experimented on. I couldn't live with that. So I contacted Elaine Riker. She was an old contact from years ago, an investigative journalist I'd helped once with a whistleblower leak. Back then, she was sharp, relentless. She owed me a favor. I used a burner laptop, loaded only with a sanitized version of the Eden folder. Half the files, scrubbed metadata, rerouted IPs. I messaged her through a secure onion relay. It's Keller. I have something. Think MK Ultra meets biotech. You interested? She replied in under 5 minutes. Where and when? We met in a crowded cafe near the Prague Castle. I recognized her immediately. Still the same no-nonsense stare, trench coat, camera bag slung over her shoulder like a modern-day war correspondent. I handed her a flash drive. She looked at it, then at me. What's on it? Enough to make 10 governments sweat. She pocketed it. If I die in the next week, I'm haunting you. That night, I moved again. New hostel, new ID, but the paranoia didn't fade. I began seeing signs, literally. Flyers with QR codes that, when scanned, redirected to nothing but a blank page with a single message. We warned you. One night, I found a thumb drive slid under my door. It was unmarked. Against every instinct, I plugged it into an isolated machine. There was only one file, a video, grainy, shot from a dash cam. A car, driving down a dark road, headlights illuminating fog, and then Elaine Riker's face in the passenger seat, bound, blood on her forehead, eyes wide with terror. A voice from off-screen. You trusted the wrong people, Keller. The car turned, drove straight off a cliff, static, then black. I sat frozen. The video had ended, but the silence that followed felt like it filled the entire room. Elaine Riker, murdered. Because of me, because I handed her that drive, because I couldn't leave it alone. But that was the thing. I couldn't leave it alone. I stared at my reflection in the dark laptop screen. My face looked hollow, like it had aged a decade in 3 days. They were watching me, no doubt. But why hadn't they killed me yet? And then it hit me. They wanted the original drive, the full copy, the unedited, unfiltered data. Elaine had only gotten a fragment. Maybe they were hoping I'd try to use it as leverage. Maybe they thought they could catch me in the act of selling it or leaking it. Or maybe they were just biding their time until I led them to whoever else might be involved. That meant I had a narrow window. One shot to turn the tables. I made contact with the Loop. It was a loose network of rogue and FOSSEC operatives, half activists, half lunatics, but always anonymous. No one knew who led it, or if anyone did. But I'd traded exploits and tools with them before, under my old alias, Zero Quartz. I logged onto a darknet forum using a modified Tails OS, authenticated with a PGP key I hadn't touched in years. Zero Quartz. Need help. National level heat. Black budget biotech. Need vault drop. 5 minutes passed. Then, chameleon_node. Proof? I uploaded 3 screenshots from the Eden drive. No metadata, no names. 2 minutes later, chameleon_node. You're insane. But we'll help. I was told to upload the full Eden archive to a cold storage node, then encrypt it using a rolling key sequence only released during coordinated time unlocks that in other words, I had to upload it, then die, metaphorically speaking, disappear, erase, my own access, leave the keys in someone else's hands, people who'd know how to use them. They would verify, dissect, and distribute. But only once I dropped out of view that IT was a one-way ticket. Before I went dark, I needed answers. Real ones. Who was behind this? I mean, really. Names. Motives. I dug deeper into the files, especially the logs between Senator Halvorsen and Dr. Skarn. There were references to something called Initiative Helix, an umbrella term, it seemed, for a long-term social engineering program, one that combined predictive AI modeling of civil unrest, coordinated misinformation campaigns, and biological filters to subtly cull genetic traits considered undesirable. It wasn't just about population control. The IT was about shaping civilization itself. Who gets to have children? Who gets education? Who gets access to medicine? IT was eugenics 2.0, but cleaner, quieter, smarter. And the kicker? A hidden document titled Genipol_2022, an Excel sheet of targets, thousands of entries, names, coordinates, metadata, journalists, scientists, activists, people labeled with cryptic notes like high variance reproductive potential, suppress social volatility, observe public influence, neutralize. Elaine Riker's name was in it. So was another one I recognized, Nadia Kessler. Nadia was a geneticist I'd met years ago at a DEF CON side panel. Brilliant, opinionated, anti-authoritarian. She'd worked for Odin briefly, then quit under strange circumstances. She once told me over drinks, "If you ever hear the word Eden spoken seriously, run." I thought it was a joke. Now, I tracked her down. She was living in Zurich under a different name, working as a freelance biotech consultant. I booked a train using fake credentials and showed up at her doorstep without warning. She didn't look surprised. "I was expecting someone eventually," she said. "Not you. Just someone." I told her what I found. She didn't blink. Instead, she made us tea, sat me down, and told me everything. She had been one of the original architects of the Initiative Helix genetic screening algorithm. At first, it was sold to her as a medical breakthrough. Help identify rare diseases, optimize fertility treatments. IT wasn't. Until she saw how the data was being used, weaponized, that she fled. They didn't care about curing disease, she said. They wanted to create a human hierarchy based on synthetic value. Her final straw was when she discovered that Odin had been deploying beta-stage serums in rural clinics in South America without consent. The serum caused reduced fertility over generations, but only in certain genetic profiles, and they were testing how quietly it could happen. "You can sterilize a population without them knowing for 20 years, she said. "That's the level of evil we're dealing with." We decided to go public. Together, she had old contacts. I had the drive, but we needed a signal, something so big it couldn't be ignored or buried. That's when I remembered a system called Hyperpulse. Odin used it internally for worldwide transmission of encrypted biological datasets between labs. It was fast, massive, and untraceable because it piggybacked off satellite maintenance streams, bypassing conventional ISP routes. If I could hijack Hyperpulse for just 10 minutes, I could inject the Eden archive into every major global research, university, and media watchdog server simultaneously. All it would take was a key and access. Nadia had the key. I had the skills. All we needed now was a launch point. A place no one would expect, and a time that we chose: midnight. 3 days from now. A rooftop in Geneva, and a message that would wake the world. Asterisk, I couldn't go back. Not to the life I had. Not to the person I used to be. After escaping the burning warehouse and barely avoiding the hitmen sent after me, I went underground. I swapped phones, IDs, and even countries. My face itched constantly from the fake beard I wore. My nerves were on edge. Every street corner looked like a trap, every stranger a potential threat. But even in the shadows, I couldn't escape what I knew. That file, that one folder, it was like a ticking bomb in my possession. A secret, too big to bury and too dangerous to share. until I got a message that IT was encrypted, anonymous, but it reached me through a secured channel I hadn't touched in months. If you're alive, meet us in Reykjavik. We believe you, and we have something for you. I debated it for 3 days. Was it a trap? Was it the same people who torched the warehouse? Or was it my only chance to end this? Reykjavik, Iceland, cold. Wind slapped my face as I walked to the cafe they had named in the message. It was quiet. Almost too quiet. I stepped inside. Heart pounding. 3 people were there already. A woman in her 50s with graying curls and steely eyes. A man in his 30s with a Russian accent. And a teenage hacker I vaguely recognized from an old DEF CON talk. They were real. They had credentials. They had seen the documents. We've been tracking this cabal for years, the woman said, sliding a tablet to me. You're not the first to stumble on them, but you might be the first who survived long enough to talk. I scrolled. It was all there. Shell companies, black site experiments, political puppets placed in power like chess pieces, and then I saw something I wasn't prepared for. My name, listed under potential threats. They knew everything. My past, my skills, my location history, even people I dated. They don't just erase threats, the young hacker said. They erase memory, reality. They rewrite narratives before they're even published. We believe they're planning something global. My stomach twisted. And we need your help to stop them. The plan was insane, but it was our only shot. That we would expose them through simultaneous leaks, thousands of accounts, servers, websites, and darknet forums. The idea was to overwhelm their ability to respond. Like a dam breaking. For weeks we prepared. Code was written. Servers primed. Deadman switches configured. And then we launched. May 19th, for 04 a.m. UTC. The flood began. Government records. Private emails. Video footage. Lab notes. Surveillance data. Even internal memos discussing the narrative control mechanism. It was an information apocalypse. News outlets tried to ignore it, but social media exploded. Hashtags trended. Protests erupted. And just when I thought it was working, they hit back. Mass outages. Internet kill switches. Arrests. Assassinations made to look like accidents. Half our team disappeared in the first 48 hours. The Russian was found floating in a canal. The woman vanished mid-flight. The teenager, last I saw of him, was a scrambled video feed and the sound of a door getting kicked in, but the data lived on. We'd planned for this. Mirror sites, torrent files, blockchain backups. Truth was out in the wild now, and it wasn't going away. I'm writing this from a bunker in the mountains. I don't even know what country I'm in anymore. My body aches. My mind's frayed, but I'm alive, and I still have access to their core node. Yes, I hacked a politician's laptop for money, but what I found was something so much bigger. A global conspiracy. Real and ruthless, and now the world knows. Whether they believe it or not, that's on them.